Hey SLP family, Mark here with our first Club Focus episode for the off-season. We aim to cover as many of the clubs as possible from all the leagues, so if you're a fan who wants to share your 2018 memories, or maybe a journalist who wants to cover the off-season news at a particular club, get in touch to be involved in our chat about your club. First up, it's the Widnes Vikings, arguably the busiest club this off-season after relegation. In fact, some of the possible news we discussed on this show has been confirmed since recording. First of all, we'll recap a tough 2018 with Widnes diehard and regular SLP contributor Paul O'Brien. You may know him better as POB1976 on Twitter. Then, to get an insight in the off-season activity from Widnes, we speak to fan and rugby league journo James Gordon. Follow James on Twitter at JDGSport, or find more from him on YouTube, also JDG Sport, where you'll find his Widnes rugby chat videos amongst more. You can also read plenty of articles by James on the great website he founded 13 years ago now, a big friend and resource of the Super League pod, which is loverugbyleague.com. I then put some big questions to both of them as we look ahead to Widnes in the Championship in 2019. Enjoy. So, Paul, welcome back to the Super League pod. We've had a previous chat with you on our, I think, was it our very first SLP? No, it was one of our early SLP shorts. So it's great to have you back to, sadly, reminisce about the 2018 season for the Widnes Vikings, your beloved Widnes Vikings. Is that going to be okay? Are we going to be all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. Yeah, I think I've got over the heartache of the season now. Time to look forward to next season.
Well, it's not quite time to look forward to next season because I want you to run through 2018 with me a little bit first. So, before the season started, I actually made the pre-season prediction that Widnes would finish 12th in the regular season, then in the bottom three of the qualifiers, which is what came to pass, unfortunately. Before we hear what you have to say about how we got to that point, we've had some of your fellow Widnes fans get in touch. Some of these names will be very familiar to the SLP family. So Neil McEwen got in touch, and when we asked him to say what he thought of the season, he started with "Do I have to?" And then he said, "Well, James Rule needs to take a leaf out of the samurai book and kill himself with a sword for his shame. We've finally been caught out with rewarding crap injury-prone players with new deals because they're great lads. I bet Pablo Escobar's mates thought he was a great lad too. We've had a chance to clear the deadwood now and start again, but the board needs to be ruthless and get the likes of Marsh and Runciman to fuck off." So obviously he's got his wish on those two in particular. Mark Butler said, "The stripper at Robert Louis Stagdo will have had more fun than any Widnes fan has had in a while." And then Gareth Sunley said, "Do I really have to write it down?" And didn't then tell us any more. That shows where Gareth was at when he was recapping the 2018 season. So, Paul, do you have anything to add on any of those first of all? I mean, some enlightening views.
You can tell from just a couple of the comments how bad of a season we had. There was nothing really to celebrate at all. It was just one of them seasons that we knew what was going to happen halfway through the season, but nothing else seemed to be going right at the club, and you can understand the people's frustrations.
Well, there was a little bit to celebrate if we cast our minds way back to the start of February, the first month of the season. There was big wins at home over Catalan and the reigning champions Leeds in the opening 4 games. So that must have given the side some confidence.
I think the first game of the season when the fixtures came out and Catalan at home, we knew that was a big game for us as fans and as a club. And to beat them at our place convincingly as well, I think a lot of fans thought, well, maybe we're going to do well this year. And unfortunately, then we had a narrow defeat away to Castleford where it was 13-12, which was an unlucky because Castleford are a great side. We then got beat by Wyatt a week later, but then had another magnificent win against Leeds. So out of the first 4 games, to win 2 of them against some great clubs that we'd played, there was a bit of hope there as a fan. You thought, oh, well, maybe this year we're going to do something. But unfortunately, that's when things started to go off the rails, so to speak.
Yeah, of course, there was only one more win over a Super League side all season. And you finally, I guess, hit rock bottom after round 16, right in the middle of the season. At that stage, you're on a losing run of 8 league games. This was when we last chatted, actually, because that was when Dennis Betts got the sack. Including the qualifiers, that run would reach 20 games before a qualifiers round 5 win at home to Halifax. Losses to championship sides London and Toulouse were included in that run. So, other than one slight highlight when you nearly found yourself entering the pitch with the side during the Magic weekend, Paul, how did that run feel? 20 successive defeats.
The thing with the games, you would go into games as it got more and more into the season, knowing that we were going to get beat. There seemed to be the support in the stands had dropped, the noise had dropped, the players didn't look like they were giving their all on the field, and it just seemed like a depressing place to go. Every time you went, the fans around were saying the same things. It's just another defeat. People who sit near me who were season ticket holders were just not turning up, and they've already paid for the tickets and not turning up to games because the feelings were, I can't come and watch this anymore. I've just had enough after all the years of supporting them. Fans were just at a point where it was unbearable to watch. You just couldn't see where the win came. Next win would cut them, and obviously the run went on and on. It went into the qualifiers. And as fans, I think we had that little bit of hope that, hold on, we've got London first, it's at home, we can prove that we are good enough to at least stay up. And then we got narrowly beat there, and it just continued on. And even the win against Halifax wasn't convincing as a fan. You had that edge of the seat that something's going to happen here, they're going to come back and they're going to beat us, but we just weren't good enough.
Yeah, and of course, the back half of that run was loads of away games, really, but did kind of big losses on the road to people like Salford and like Leeds. They were teams also in that bottom 4 area. Was that were you starting to then really worry about what might happen in the qualifiers?
I think once we got with the likes of the teams that were around us and the likes of Hull Chaos, the Salfords, and Leeds, you wanting your team to put in a performance against these teams because they're struggling, they're hurting as well because they're getting the defeats as well. But we seem to just be going on the field and the same drills going on. There was no kicking game, and it was as if we'd accepted our own fate of we're not going to do much this season, and that's how it felt as a fan. You were watching things and thinking, the simple things weren't being done, the basics weren't being done right, and you were coming onto fields again and thinking, how many are we going to get beat by this week?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the lowest points were those London and Toulouse defeats in the qualifiers. Now, both those games at different points, particularly early on in those games, Widnes looked like they were in winning positions in those games. So to lose those games in the way that you did you know then that your fate was sealed, even though it wasn't mathematically sealed?
For me, it was after the London game. The way that we got into a lead which we should have held on to, and then there was the interception try, and then we just seemed to fold and buckle, and yeah, we came back with a couple of minutes to go, but London deserved the win. And after walking out of that game, I was convinced that was it. We were down. There was no coming back because there was some big clubs to play to continue to play, and Toulouse away was always going to be hard. Toronto away was going to be hard, and Salford were playing some fantastic rugby, and they just didn't look like anybody was going to beat them at all.
One of the probably mitigating points, or 2 mitigating points for Widnes, really, was that they used more players than any other Super League side and fielded the lowest average age side over the season. So whilst it's not an excuse, you have to accept and maybe feel a little bit alleviated by injuries being a huge factor.
It's an easy one to say that injuries and the amount of players has led to the way we performed on the field. I think despite the amount of injuries we had and the amount of players we used, when the players that were on the field, some of them just didn't seem interested. Some of them didn't seem like they were putting the effort in. The people who should have been controlling the games weren't controlling the games. There didn't seem man management. We were at a point where we had 4 captains that were announced at the beginning of the season. How does that work? Who's the main leader on the field? Who's the one that's going to take charge? It all seemed like there was no structure to the club, and every game was the same. It was the attacking was the same. It was one out rugby. There was silly mistakes in controlling the ball, and a lot of the kids that come through, a lot of the younger lads that come through, played really well. You had like Ashall Bott that come through, who played well, Owen Buckley, Owen Farnworth, to name just a few, who came through and took the chances and played really, really well. And that's what we've got to look now for the positive for next season. The youth that we've got, we're going to be a very young side, but we've got that main body there to try and build the club forward again.
So the sort of final thing that sort of stood out for me for the 2018 season, and I don't know your take on it, but Widnes' only real off-season signing of any real note, and this was kind of why I had you finishing bottom anyway, turned out to be Kristen Inu, with the Albert brothers not really making a contribution in the Super League level. Inu scored 6 tries in his first 6 games to open the season before an injury pretty much then ruled him out until Dennis Betts had lost his job at least. So do you think recruitment was always going to be a problem ahead of the 2018 season, and like losing your only signing, what did that mean?
Kristen Inu came in and was amazing in the first couple of games. As you said, he scored 6 tries and he was playing really, really well until he got injured. I think it was against Warrington, he broke his leg. And that must have had some disjointment to the team. Obviously, he's come in, he's been playing well. I think our recruitment and retention has been poor for a couple of seasons. There's been players there who should have been moved on earlier and not been playing for the club, so that by offloading money from them, we could have looked at bringing somebody in. But then who do you bring in? There was not a lot out there to bring in. And it's hard to get players to come to a club that are struggling. If you're given the opportunity to go to a different club and play somewhere else, you're going to take that opportunity where you want to go and win things.
Yeah.
I just think recruitment-wise, my big concern was who was recruiting the players, and I don't think it was all down to Betts. And Betts got a really sharp end of the stick, really. He was made to be the number one target, and because he was the coach, and obviously the team aren't performing, the coach is going to get the bullet for that, and he did at the time. But then Cummins came in and didn't do any better.
Well, because he did a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly, because you can't change one man, leave the rest of the coaching staff in place, and expect us to change. And my concern is what was going on within the deeper root of the club. Who's making the signings, who's deciding what's going on. And I don't think Betts was allowed to do what he wanted.
Shall we try and finish our 2018 recap on a slightly more positive kind of vibe? I know you go down to the games as a sort of 3 generations family,
yes.
And I know you all have a lot of strong views on this. What I want to know though is who were the O'Brien family's favourite players in 2018? Who made you smile, at least if only for brief moments? Who made you smile in a Widnes shirt this year?
Oh, crikey. The problem was there was not a lot to smile about. We had some
positive things going well, isn't it?
No, I know. We had some good players that come through. Ashall Bott was one of the players that came through, and I thought was amazing in the games he played.
Yeah,
and
he was even exciting pre-season, wasn't he, for you guys? And I think there was a sign that a star was going to come through, so he did give you some moments.
And for me, it's the future of the club that was coming through and was getting the chances, and they weren't just coming onto the field and just trying. There were some amazing performances by some of them, and I think that's a highlight for me, that we've got such a good youth structure that we've got them to fall back on, and it was nice